Coming up on the This Week in Cougar Baseball Podcast.
They really want to out-mentality you. That's what they want to do. They want to be tougher than you, and they want people to break. And so that's why I'm really curious to see how our team handles that, and if we don't break under certain conditions, when things don't go your way, things like that.
Alongside the head coach of the Cougars, Nathan Choate, here's Trevor Williams.
By my count, it's the first ever This Week in Cougar Baseball podcast from an airport. We are standing currently in the Pullman Airport, getting ready to take on a trip to go see Air Force in Mountain West play, final regular season weekend, and the head coach of the Cougars, Nathan Choate, here with us as always. Little bit of a different episode this week. The players were in finals week, and then coaching staff was out recruiting after the Cougs played on Monday in Spokane. So that's why we're getting this in just in time on Thursday before we head into this final regular season weekend. But Coach, glad you can join us and that we have a chance to talk Cougar baseball as always.
Thanks. Great to see you in the airport as we get ready to take off. But yeah, always good to talk baseball.
Looking back at last week, as we usually do, and we won't spend a ton of time on this just because time has passed now, and I think people are pretty familiar with everything that's gone on. But last weekend's series for you guys, really important, picking up those first couple wins against Fresno State. Series wins are always important. And, one of the biggest things I wanted to hit on was for this program, 5 straight series victories for the first time since 1999. It's a big deal for this program.
Yeah, no, I obviously wasn't aware of that until after the fact. And I think, one of the things we've tried to do is become more consistent, and we're definitely a work in progress. But I think winning series is really what you're trying to do in college baseball. And the fact that we've done that 5 weekends in a row, that's a good step in the right direction from a consistency standpoint.
What were some of the things that stood out to you about last weekend when things were going right for you guys?
Well, I thought we pitched well all weekend long. I thought we played pretty good defense all weekend long. Saturday, obviously, we had the big offensive output. I thought Friday and Sunday we had opportunities to score and just didn't execute in a couple situations, but sometimes you got to give credit to them too. They made some pitches in some big spots, and they got a young team. They're going to be fine eventually. They're just still learning how to win.
Yeah.
But I was really pleased with the 3 starts for sure.
That's been something that you've really been able to lean on, especially these last few weeks. And I guess really throughout this stretch is the way that those starters have been able to open games for you guys.
Yeah, I think that was the thing that we're the most excited about coming back this year, is having guys that had started as many Division I games and had learned and had some experiences from the year previous. And that's come to fruition. Those guys go out there and they give us quality starts. Doesn't mean they're always perfect. You don't make mistakes, but pretty reliable on what you're going to get.
I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but looking at the numbers at home for Griffin and Luke, it's pretty amazing, especially in Griffin's case. I went through this on the air, but I think it's 11 career home starts. 9 of them were quality starts, and the 2 that weren't were victories, 5 2/3, 4 innings against Air Force, and a complete game against UNLV. So, if a Coug fan ever came out to watch Washington State baseball and Griffin Smith was the starter, then they saw a complete game or a victory, or a quality start or a victory.
Yeah, that's a pretty good formula. I think there's something to be said about his comfortability at home, and we play pretty good defense at home too, and he's a guy that attacks the strike zone, and we played good defense behind him, and so he had a pretty good stretch at home this year, that's for sure, and last year.
The tail end of the weekend and into the start of the week took you guys to Gonzaga and Spokane, and we talked post game in that one. There's really an inning that you guys want back in that game, and otherwise very competitive game throughout. But I know frustrating this year that Gonzaga in all 3 of those games was able to do what they did.
Yeah, and it was the same formula. We were winning 6-3 at our place. We were winning 5-2 in the 6th at their place, and it was just the inability to minimize a big inning. That 7th spot killed us. It's a lot what last year looked like when we didn't attack the strike zone. We walked some guys. We got behind in counts, and as we move forward and play them in the future, obviously we're going to be playing them on the weekend, which is a little bit of a different deal. But we need to learn how to minimize those innings a little bit better. Instead of it being a 7, you give up 2 or you give up 3, and we'll be fine. But yeah, definitely something we need to improve on.
You and I talked pregame of that game about, getting guys in some roles and some spots where you're going to need them to perform both in this final regular season series and then when postseason play comes around. how did you feel like some of the pitchers handled those roles? We talked in the postgame that there were some bright spots in there of guys coming in and executing in spots that you put them in.
Yeah, we started Tabor. That was his first start here. I have confidence in Tabor to fill up the strike zone. I think the second half of the year has really turned a corner after not playing last year. And so he's a guy that in the conference tournament may need to start. And so I wanted to have him be able to go through a routine of starting. Brock Blatter had started most of his games. That was his second outing out of the bullpen. So we flipped those two just to give them an opportunity. I thought both those guys threw well. I thought Rylan Hyder at the end threw well, and I thought Wick came in and threw well as well. So those four guys I thought did a really good job. We're just trying to find our way in some other spots. But yeah, I thought those guys did a good job in their opportunity.
And you got an opportunity to get some at-bats for guys who maybe have been played out of some roles in recent weeks, but important to keep them involved and ready with live game ABs for, all of these important games you guys have coming up.
Yeah, and we got a little banged up in BP, and that's just what it is. And so we had to make some changes as well at the last minute on the lineup, and why we had some changes. And guys are fine, but some of those were done, to get at-bats, but others were done out of necessity because I'm not going to really go into the injuries, but there was a couple things that happened right before, not discipline, but just an injury where we had to be pretty cautious with some guys.
But you said you don't feel concerned about that holding over into this weekend.
Yeah, no, we practiced the last couple of days, and we should be fine. So not really worried about it this weekend.
All right, so then we talked about it a little bit off the top. I mean, it never stops in this line of work, right? So you guys break off, you go do some recruiting after Monday. I had some daytime work commitments, so that's how we kind of ended up where we're at here, standing in the airport doing the podcast. But the grind never really stops for you guys. People think about off days, but for the players, finals this week, for the coaches, recruiting, and then you guys are still practicing through all this as well.
Yeah, there's not really an off day. On Tuesday, I was over at a high school playoff game watching one of our committed players. Two of my assistants were over on the east side or over on the west side watching games, and it doesn't stop. We had practice on Wednesday and Thursday around the guys' final schedule. And I'm not complaining. It's the reality of the job and what it is. And so at this time of year, there really are no off days. You're preparing for this season, but you're also having to make sure recruiting doesn't stop. So a lot of things going on and pretty busy. So hence why we're talking in an airport.
Well, and when we talk finals, you guys are coming into this year, the program's best GPA. I mean, I think it says a lot about the guys on this team, and it is so easy, especially in this day and age of college athletics, to kind of forget about the academic side of it. But you have a lot of guys who are performing really well in the classroom and who are getting some really impressive degrees.
Yeah, I'm proud of the job that they've done. Like you said, a lot of people forget that they're student athletes because of all the things going on in college athletics. But I do think there's a direct correlation between guys that are successful on the field and guys that are successful in the classroom. They're challenging themselves to be great in everything that they do. And so we want to finish the semester strong and I've been proud of the effort so far.
All right, looking forward at this weekend. We're about to get on a plane so we can get to Seattle and then go through Denver and eventually land in Colorado Springs and go see Air Force at the United States Air Force Academy. One of the things that sticks out to me about their program, one, like you guys, there wasn't a lot of belief in them preseason, and they have had a fantastic year. I mean, these two teams are basically playing this weekend to see who can overtake one another in the standings. But the other thing I always think about with the Air Force Academy is you are going to battle every single out of a game when you take on Air Force.
Yeah. I think the discipline that they have within their program, the belief, they were young last year like us. And so they've done a good job kind of, exceeding everybody's expectations. They've played really well at home. It's a tough place to play for a variety of reasons. And so really once they get it going and you get, you're playing at altitude and you get the wind and all of those things, they really want to out-mentality you. That's what they want to do. They want to be tougher than you, and they want people to break. And so that's why I'm really curious to see how our team handles that, and if we don't break under certain conditions, when things don't go your way, things like that.
What do you think this team has done best in the times where you guys have showcased that toughness, especially in bounce backs and those situations where you guys haven't broken?
Yeah, we just haven't flinched. We're pretty resilient. We can take a punch. And so as heartbreaking as some of our losses have been, we've showed up the next day and stayed with the same process. And I expect the same thing this weekend. It's a hard place to play, and I expect our guys to show up and think of it as an opportunity, and really just focus on trying to find a way to win on Friday.
Well, everyone knows that we're legit. They can hear the announcements in the background here in the airport. You mentioned the toughness of the place to play. I mean, Air Force is undefeated at home this year, 14-0. For your pitchers to have success in a ballpark that's known to be very offensive, what do they need to focus on and try to do the best in their approach on the mound?
Well, first off, yeah, they're 14-0, but they haven't played us yet. And I think we have a good baseball team. We need to control what we can control. And that means executing pitches. And if we give up a base hit that just falls into no man's land, or if we don't make a play because the ball's in the wind and it drops or ball carries, we need to get on the mound and get to the next pitch. And I think it's more about our maturity and our emotional stability and how we handle that stuff and our toughness, especially with our 3 starters. Man, they got enough starts under their belt now to be able to handle that. And then guys out of the bullpen, can they just keep going and keep going and keep going? And if we have to win a game 13-10, find a way to win a game 13-10. And so the game is a little bit different than at some places. But that's the biggest thing. I think our guys just need to stick with their process and what they can do.
I've heard a variety of players talk about how exciting this time of year is right now because it is so meaningful for the program. I mean, playing in a situation this weekend where you still have a potential bye in front of you for the Mountain West Conference tournament, that's dangling out in front of you. And really probably the most consequential baseball that WSU's program has played since a guy like Tommy Richards was on the roster as a player.
Yeah. It's a privilege, and it's something that our guys have earned to play these games. And really, we're focused on Friday. Just win tomorrow, right? And then we'll deal with Saturday and where we're at on Saturday, and then we'll deal with Sunday. The first thing is to secure a tournament bid, right? And so there's multiple different ways that can happen. The most direct is win tomorrow, and then you're guaranteed a spot, and then we'll figure out seating, and then we'll move to Saturday and the next day. But really, I want our guys to get used to winning and expecting to win and to play into the postseason. And I think it's just a culmination of all the belief and the hard work that they've done, that we're playing meaningful games late. And this group, that a lot of them that kind of got their tail kicked in last year, man, is it pretty cool to see them play, with a week to go, playing meaningful games. I mean, that's why they came back, and that's why they wanted to help move Washington State baseball forward. And I think they're doing that. I
do too. I think it's been a really fun year, and probably some of the most fun we're going to have is ahead of us. So looking forward to it. No, absolutely. Like I said, it's if you can't get excited about baseball this time of year with this kind of weather, then you're not a baseball fan. I can't give it to you. It's a great sport. But yeah, no, super excited about this weekend. Great opportunity, and now we're just looking for a smooth flight with no delays is what we're hoping for now. Yeah, same here. Well, we'll break here. We'll get ready so that we can make sure we make this flight no problems. And Coach, I appreciate the time. I appreciate the creativity we put together this week to get this out there. And I hope it shows to folks how important it is to all of us too to continue the message forward and talk Cougar baseball as we all love to do. Absolutely. Appreciate it. Go Cougs.